Bragg came down the river with Longstreet by his side. It was an awful battle and many a soldier died. The Rebs came through the wheat field, Rosecrans ran away, but George Thomas stood his ground and saved the Union on that day. He was the rock of Chickamauga.
Donald Farm, all is quiet. The men of John Beatty's brigade screen the left flank of the Union Army.
Quit. Colonel of the 46th Georgia, who's commanding Gift Brigade, Walker's.
So the north built breastwork along here, you can see the line going down.
Benjamin Helm, commanding brigade, Breckinridge's division, mortally wounded here about 10 a.m. September 20th, 1863.
And why is this one significant?
This is Abraham Lincoln's brother-in-law, and he was absolutely devastated when he found out that he had died.
Can you imagine fighting here, Kaden?
In the charge of the division on the morning of this day, the battery engaged the enemy, and in the midst of the battle had one howitzer disabled, and when the battery was withdrawn, securing the disabled piece. About 5 p.m., while the brigade was engaged in assaulting the enemy's rail and log barricades under a close and destructive fire of musketry and artillery, and while the brigade was being cut down and faltering, the battery was moved by hand into position.
As soon as it was light, we were marched to the front, in line with the rest of our brigade. By this time, we were in good fighting condition. Everybody was anxious to go ahead and do something. We were about out of provisions, too. Even water was scarce with us. All the forenoon, we were moved around in the woods without seeing the enemy. The bullets came by.
Solid rock of Chickamauga. He faced the foe, he stood his ground. No one could push that yank around. He was the rock, the solid rock of Chickamauga. Cannonballs were dancing, the rifles played a tune. Rosecrans was a-running like the cow that jumped the moon. The rebels were a-yelling, their voices loud and shrill, but they couldn't drive George Thomas from the top of Snodgrass Hill. He was the rock of Chickamauga, the solid rock of Chickamauga. He faced the foe, he stood his ground. No one could push that yank around. He was the rock, the solid rock of Chickamauga.
How is it?
Good.
Good.
Down by this creek side is as far as I'll be going. Laying halfway in the water, I can feel the water flowing.
Knew every pig trail through these woods. General Longstreet, commander of the Confederate left wing, employed him as a scout. Tom served with pride, telling his brother Jim, it's a sorry lad that won't fight for his own home. Jim Brotherton also fought for the South. After the battle, Madeline Brotherton, the young...
Feel my heart a-pounding and I'm blinded by the smoke. But I swear I see you coming my way in your boat, and you picked me up and we rode down together. You picked me up and we rode side by side. I'm turning the water red here at Chickamauga. And it's time that see where boys go out fighting. Sam and old Charlie watching by my side. Couldn't wait
Oh,
to be
nice.
absorbed in
Is that easy or what, Kaden?
Let's do
it again. So they fought from up here? This would be what it's like to be up on one of those balloons though. Like we saw, and they look to see where everyone is.
kept all your letters right next to my
I've heard
heart.
the story.
Read them every day and I could sing them in the dark. It's your picture, my darling. I
Gosh, that is the littlest buck
lost
I've
a
ever
while
seen.
back. Little Sam and old Charlie boy, they're at Liberty. Yeah, boy.
It looks like the Union kind of all gathered up here and tried to hold this for a while, but eventually,
They couldn't? The South got it?
yeah, I think it's how it worked.
We're trying to find something about Johnny or the person they
Johnny
killed.
Clem?
Yeah.
The drummer boy Kaden read a book about. So apparently he met a colonel out here somewhere close, we're trying to find it, on this battlefield. And he was, I think the colonel might have even been up on his horse, and Johnny was on the ground with a sawed-off gun. And the general's just like, what are you little devil doing out here or something, you know, just talking down to him because he's just a little kid. And Johnny just looked him right in the eyes and shot him dead.
Hey.
So we're trying to find where Johnny did that. Well, we walked around this whole area looking for anything that talked about Johnny Clem killing a colonel, sergeant, somebody, and couldn't find it. So I gotta head back, but just know Johnny Clem was right here. Probably walked the same spot you're walking right now.
Aaron says that.
What?
Aaron says that. Who knows? Might be walking over there. Might be
That's what
walking
I'm
over
saying.
there. Might be walking over there.
Yep. So you probably walked the same spot as he did, huh?
Probably.
Pretty neat.
Probably.
It's clear blue water and clear blue sky. For a second it was almost as pretty as your eyes. Then the smoke came right after my ears filled with thunder. I saw the tails of brave men tuck right under. And I knew I'd never see you, Bo Layton's daughter. As this water swept away with my heart. It's down by this creek side is as far as I'll be going. Laying halfway in the water, I can't feel the water flowing. Feel my heart a-pounding and I'm blinded by the smoke. But I swear I see you coming my way in your boat. And you picked me up and we rode down together. You picked me up and we rode side by side. Well, I'm turning the waters red here at Chickamauga. And it's time that this young boy will die.
On this now hallowed ground, more than 150,000 Americans met in battles that helped determine the outcome of our nation's Civil War. At Chickamauga, 3 of the bloodiest days of the entire war. And 8 miles north of Chattanooga, climactic charge that helped seal the fate of the Confederacy. The sacrifices made at Chickamauga and Chattanooga were the result of a bitter divide, one rooted in an earlier time of conflict, the birth of the Republic itself. During the American Revolution, patriots are emboldened by a radical idea: a government of the people, where all men are created equal. But the ideals expressed in the Declaration of Independence do not apply to all.
Lazy, sorriest bunch of folks we ever paid for.
Slavery has been the ugly exception to the new nation's cries of liberty. By 1860, the United States is home to nearly 4 million slaves. Most toil on southern plantations, working to produce a crop the world economy craves: cotton. By the time Abraham Lincoln takes office in 1861, all political options to preserve the Union have seemingly been exhausted. With America now at war, countless young men are faced with difficult decisions of duty, honor, and country. George W. Van Pelt, the town constable of Coldwater, Michigan, enlists in an artillery unit soon to be known as Battery A, 1st Michigan Light Artillery. His wife, Mary, follows him into the field, volunteering as a nurse. Almost a year later, and 700 miles south, Joshua Calloway reluctantly responds to the Alabama governor's call for volunteers. Calloway, a 28-year-old schoolteacher, does not own any slaves. He leaves behind 2 small children and wife Dulcinea. Most everyone on either side of the rebellion believes the war will be over quickly. But the carnage of the first battles shocks all Americans. What began as a Southern rebellion and a Northern response to preserve the Union is affected by a few strokes of the pen. President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation declares all slaves in the rebelling states forever free. It is issued January 1st, 1863. In the South, the Emancipation Proclamation is greeted with defiance by whites and with increasing hope by slaves. It is commanded by General William Rosecrans. Standing in the Federals' way is the Confederate Army of Tennessee, commanded by General Braxton Bragg. Joshua Calloway is now an officer in the 28th Alabama.
June 26, 1863. My darling wife, everything is quiet here. It was said that the Yankees were advancing, but we all suppose that it's nothing more than a foraging party. I do hope that this year will close the war. The Lord hasten the day of peace. My love to your mother and our children. Joshua Calloway.
The foraging party is in fact Rosecrans' entire force. The Union commander realizes the key to conquest of the Deep South lies with the town of Chattanooga. Lincoln states that taking Chattanooga is as important as taking Richmond. Early September 1863. More than 100,000 soldiers from 2 opposing armies are maneuvering around the land surrounding Chattanooga. Lieutenant Henry Sist of Rosecrans staff.
The fact that these two armies were yet somewhere to meet and engage in deadly strife was apparent to the commanders of both armies. Where and when? That was to be the problem.
When is September 18th, 1863. Where is a few miles south of Chattanooga, along the banks of a creek called Chickamauga. Bragg has planned to launch a major attack against Rosecrans. But along the Chickamauga, small detachments of Union soldiers put up stubborn resistance. The outnumbered Union forces withdraw. By sundown, the Confederates eventually swarm across the muddy creek. Bragg's main attack will have to wait one more day. Bragg's plan turned the soldiers of the Union Army to the south, cut off Rosecrans from Chattanooga, destroy the Army of the Cumberland. To counter, Rosecrans consolidates his force, extending troops north along the Lafayette Road.
We were put in motion about sunrise. The day was bright and beautiful, and the world never seemed half so attractive before, now that there was a good chance of leaving it soon. Orderly Sergeant Lytton Cooper, 20th Tennessee Volunteer Infantry.
A little after 7 a.m., Confederate cavalry stumble upon Union soldiers filling their canteens. It is an area where the Confederates expect no contact. What begins as a skirmish almost immediately escalates into a full-scale battle. All day, Federals and Confederate brigades slug it out in the woods west of Chickamauga Creek. The dense canopy of trees causes the battle smoke to hang like a thick, deadly fog. George Miller of the 31st Ohio.
The bullets were singing among the trees, scaling the bark from the trunks. Before, we had been jubilant at the thought of meeting the enemy so soon, but now, the zip and whiz of the bullets coming so near dampened our ardor very decidedly.
In the thick woods near the Winfrey farm is Lieutenant George W. Van Pelt and his Michigan battery. Without warning, a line of Confederate infantry appears on his brigade's right flank. The advancing Confederates are less than 200 yards away. The Michigan men fire 64 rounds. Most sail over the heads of the charging Confederates.
We gotta get out of here!
The Michigan battery is overrun. But Van Pelt refuses to abandon his guns. The confusion and bloodletting of Van Pelt's fight is typical of Chickamauga's second day. Despite catastrophic casualties, neither side has gained much ground at Chickamauga. Bragg has repeatedly failed in his attempts to cut off Rosecrans from Chattanooga. At dawn the next morning, all that can be heard at Chickamauga is the sound of Union forces fortifying their defensive positions. A breakdown in communication plagues Bragg's army. The Confederate attack does not begin until 9:30. Bragg will later say that if not for that 3-hour delay, our independence might have been won. Among the first to challenge the Union defenses is the Kentucky Orphan Brigade, commanded by Brigadier General Benjamin Helm. 2 years earlier, Helm was offered a position with the Union Army by his brother-in-law. Fighting under Helm's command is 22-year-old Johnny Green.
A perfect shower of grape tore through our ranks. We fired a volley and rushed upon them. Our beloved and gallant General Helm fell mortally wounded, leading his brigade, which he knew would never falter.
But it is not the relentless attacks on the Union left that determines the outcome of Chickamauga. It's a hole in the Union center. Fatigue and miscommunication on the part of Rosecrans creates a nearly half-mile wide gap in the Union line. By sheer fate, 3 Confederate divisions are marching straight towards the gap. At 11 a.m., 11,000 cheering Confederates pour through. The Confederate breakthrough effectively splits the Union line. Rosecrans and a third of his force leave the battlefield and escape to Chattanooga. The Union right soon crumbles. But not all the Union soldiers leave the field. Remaining on the Union left are soldiers under the command of General George Thomas. On Snodgrass Hill and Horseshoe Ridge, they stand firm. Ready to charge up the steep wooded slope with the 28th Alabama is Lieutenant Joshua Calloway.
My dear love, I have just passed through the terrible ordeal of a hard battle. Our brigade formed at the foot of a long hill, at the top of which was the enemy's line. The battle was raging all along our line, as if heaven and earth were coming together. 1,000 thunderstorms all turned loose could not equal the noise. The carnage was awful. Men were shot down all around me. I was indeed in the very midst of death.
Thomas's heroic defense allows the remaining Union forces to escape. For that stand, Thomas becomes known as the Rock of Chickamauga. By day's end, the last of Thomas's men withdraw from the battlefield. The carnage of 3 days of battle is unimaginable. More than 34,000 casualties. Over 4,000 of those are dead. Joshua Calloway somehow makes it through the battle unscathed.
Top of Lookout Mountain. While musing thus, I could not help but feeling a spark of ambition, a desire to make my name as immortal as that of Lookout Mountain. My ambition cooled off, and I began to think how I would be perfectly content to be at home with my wife and never thought of after I die. You need not be at all surprised to hear of some demonstration at any moment. Your devoted J.K. Calloway.
November 24th, 1863. Grant orders General William T. Sherman to move toward the Confederate stronghold atop Missionary Ridge. That same day, General Joseph Hooker and some 10,000 Union troops capture Lookout Mountain. The fight becomes known as the Battle Above the Clouds. Yet the battles for Chattanooga are far from over. The next morning, Sherman's assault on Missionary Ridge begins. A Confederate remarks, "We feel we can kill all they send after us." With Sherman's men paralyzed, Grant turns to George Thomas, the Rock of Chickamauga. His order is to attack rifle pits at the base of Missionary Ridge. But Thomas's veterans do not stop there. They scale the heights with one thing in mind: redemption. On the crest, the Confederate defenders are routed. Colonel C. Irvine Walker of General Manigault's staff.
The Yankees moved up to the attack in the most gallant style. I don't think any feat of war can equal their attack on Missionary Ridge. If only our men had held their ground, it would have been child's play. But instead, they fled, panic-stricken before the enemy. When I saw men running, I could not believe they were the heroes of Shiloh, Perryville, Oak Hills, and Chickamauga.
Bragg orders a retreat into Georgia. With the Confederate defeat at Chattanooga, the gateway to the Deep South has been pried open. A junior officer from Bragg's army later calls the retreat from Missionary Ridge the death knell of the Confederacy. The Union victory comes at a terrible cost. The battles of Chickamauga and Chattanooga alone claimed more than 10,000 Confederate and Union lives. Among them, George Van Pelt, killed while heroically defending his Michigan battery. Some 2 weeks after the battles for Chattanooga, Dulcinea Calloway receives another correspondence.
Mrs. J.K. Calloway, it now falls to my unhappy lot to write you a short letter letting you know what has become of your much-beloved husband, Lieutenant Joshua K. Calloway, who fell in the Battle of Missionary Ridge, mortally wounded. While rallying his company, he was shot through the bowels with a minie ball. We picked him up, started off the field, when he asked us to lay him down and die. I have every reason to believe that he has gone to a better land where there is no more war. The company and officers deeply sympathize with you in his loss. But what is your and our loss is his eternal gain. W.F. Aycock, Lieutenant Company K, 28th Alabama Regiment.
The sacrifices of Calloway, Van Pelt, and others would not be forgotten. Some 20 years after the battles, veterans began to return under one flag. In 1890, Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park is created. It is the nation's first. Today, at Chickamauga and Chattanooga, the sounds of war have long been silenced. But the memories of those who fought remain. In the shadow of Lookout Mountain, these now hallowed grounds remind us that the freedoms we enjoy have come with the greatest of sacrifice.